Hi everyone, welcome back. Can you believe we are at Module 3? Module 3 is the last part of the book, and then the final module will just be about taking action and wrapping it all up so you can move on to meet your goals, make publishing your book happen. In our last module, we talked about visioning. Visioning was about dumping it all in. What is your biggest, highest, grandest dream for yourself that you have? And how can you seek to create a board or just write it all out about what you want to do? What's your book life like? What's publishing like for you? And how to make that happen. Module 3 is about taking action. And really, before you can take action, it's important for you to assess, where are you? Where are you with the book? Are you almost done? Are you halfway through? Are you still really learning the tools of putting the book together? That's going to take some time, and sometimes you can't really see about publishing the book until you're finished. Yes, you're learning all the ins and outs, but really you have to finish your product before you can release it to the world and start selling it. And it has to be the best product it can be, grammatically correct, all the errors fixed, a beautiful cover. All of these things are be important, having a solid product and something that will actually sell in the market once it's available. Where are you with the book's completion? What do you still need to learn? These are all questions that you can ask in assessing where you are. Can you assign a time frame for finishing the book? If there are parts of the book that you need to finish researching, how long will that take you and what else needs to happen? Do you need to interview people? Do you need to meet with someone to give you some more information that will actually go into the book? When will you complete this? Who do you need to reach out to for help and guidance? You might also consider coaching, which there is a coaching page in the Publishing Action Guide that you can refer to get information about that. What money do you have to invest? Do you have any money? Are you working paycheck to paycheck and really have little savings to help put the book together? You may want to spend a year just saving a few hundred or even $50 a month so you won't have to reach into your savings or just cut your paycheck in half to pay for some of those things. What can you start doing now? The next thing I want to look at as far as taking action is, there's always been for years, corporate leaders, motivational speakers always talk about the SMART goal. And I have 2 extra words. It didn't make an actual word, but I had to add these because I feel like in the SMART goal, and you're thinking about it, nobody ever talks about these last 2 important things in the SMART goal. So the first thing is to be specific. I want to finish my book by this time next year. So you have a whole year, 365 days, but you need to break that down. How long is your book? Is it a novella, which is a shorter book? Is it a novel? Is it a memoir? All of these types of genres already have words, that the number of words that are built into the genre. How many pages do you have done, and how many pages do you need to reach that? What's a targeted memoir goal? Now, give or take a few pages, 50, 60 pages is fine, but you don't want to deviate too much from what the going rate is and what most people are doing. When people think about something and they think about a certain brand, it has to fit into the category. So you don't want to deviate too far from where other books that are similar to yours are and how they're made up. The next thing is measurable. How are you going to measure whether you've been successful? Obviously, in 365 days, you should have a ready product. It should be a certain number of pages. You should be ready to send it out to someone who's going to edit it and look at it. You should be ready to have ideas about the cover. Maybe you'll have other covers that you've looked at and that you've reviewed, and you can send that to the graphic designer to say, here's covers that I like that are in my genre, in my market, and I'd like to come up with something similar to that. The next thing is actionable. This is really important. You want to take that 365-day goal and break it down. If you have 50,000 more words to finish, which really shouldn't take you a year to do, but it could, depending on what other things you have going on in your life, how many words is that a day? How many pages is that a week? You'll want to meet those actionable goals in order to meet the specific goal, which is to finish and have a solid draft ready in 365 days. Next, you want to be realistic. If you haven't started on the book at all, and you're working full time, and you have a family, and maybe you even have a side job that you do, finishing a full length book in a year may be unrealistic. So again, we're only talking about doing 50,000 words in a year is very doable. On the slide, you'll see that I have another R word, which is relevant. I'm not really sure that I like this word, only because you don't always know how long it's going to take you to do something, and really thinking about all of the things that go into whatever the goal is, and the hurdles, and your time being taken away, monkey wrenches into your time. These are things that are going to impede your ability to be realistic. So really think about whatever time frame you set, whatever timetable that you have come up with, is that realistic? That's a much more easier thing to assess. Relevance to your goal should already be a given. The next thing is timely. Because we were so specific, we already have accounted for the time. Every goal needs a target date, so we have to put a deadline in place, and that will help us to focus and also to know that as we can move closer to our deadline and the time frame that we've set, we'll be moving closer and closer to that deadline, knowing that we have to get it done. As I've written and as I've done approximately 8 books over the course of a really long time, several years, including working full time, I've understood that there are hurdles. And I think that even in the SMART goal, there's no provision made for what is going to happen when you have hurdles and how are you going to block them. So a hurdle might be constant interruptions. How are you going to create a blocker that will help you make your hurdle less of a detriment to your time and your ability to get something done? Your hurdle may be finances. How are you going to save money? What are you going to do to ensure that you can have some funds set aside in order to make your goal happen? Will you take on extra things? Will you have an extra side hustle? Will you set money away and cut out certain things and make sacrifices? Another hurdle could be family. It's not really a hurdle, it's something you enjoy, but it still interrupts your ability to get something done. And so you'll want to think about all the hurdles, and then you could come up with tiny little ways and ideas about how you'll block those. In the Publishing Action Guide, I've listed a couple of my recurring hurdles and ways that I've tried to block them, or at least mitigate how much they'll interrupt what I'm trying to do, and how much the main hurdle for me is just the time, interrupting writing time, health issues, and the full-time employment. While they're not necessarily hurdles, they're interruptions and things that cut into the time that I need in order to produce a book. If I have a book due, or if I have a book that I want to release within a certain amount of time, I have to try to find ways to mitigate all the interruptions that keep me from writing. As you'll see on the slide, each page is approximately 200 words. That's when it's 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, double spaced, and usually 1-inch margins all around. The only thing that will affect the number of words that you have on the page is simply the font. Some fonts take up more dots per inch, meaning that if you use Courier New, for example, this takes up a lot of space. And secretly, I always use Courier New to make what I'm working on look longer. Next, you'll see that 25,000 words equals approximately 100 pages. And 50,000 words, which you want to have in a year, is approximately 200 pages. This next slide shows typically what each of the different genres, usually the approximate length each of the genres are, which is what I talked about earlier. As I've said many times, it's important to remember that the different genres of writing are constantly evolving. When I started writing romance almost 17 years ago, when my first book came out, I was writing romances that were approximately 100,000 words, sometimes 105,000 words. Now, romances, some of them, excluding historical romances, of course, those same romances are now approximately 75 to 80,000 words. The genre has changed some, not much. There you can still find many romances that are 100,000 words, but as people put out more books and put them out faster, they write shorter. And some people, there's still plenty enough people to enjoy both sizes of books, long or short. And sometimes in the series of romance, you'll find that books are shorter because there'll be so many more books coming out talking about the same family or the same town, and those books will be a little bit shorter. Take a look at the top 5 genres on this graphic, and you'll know what you want to strive for your own writing. You should have at least a few of the action steps you'll need to take to finish your goal and to be successful. Your goals should be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, timely, and you should also have come up with hurdles that may keep occurring and recurring in your life. And also come up with the hurdle blocker or ways that you're going to use, tactics that are unique to you to mitigate those hurdles interrupting your time. Finally, while I have covered a lot of material in these modules, there is nothing wrong with using some of the business world tactics to conduct and create your SMART goal. Of those business world tactics could include creating a situational analysis to clarify where you are right now. Or you may want to do a SWOT analysis, that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as you look at your ability to continuously create content and to do your writing. A logic model, while tedious sometimes, is also a good way to outline your goals and think about all the inputs and activities you'll be doing in order to create the outputs that you desire. And finally, you may want to even create a business plan for your writing and your publishing career. All of these things are of the business world, and some of you may have been in the business world, and they can be easily adapted to your writing and publishing. So try to use them if you haven't, or adapt them if you have to your writing and publishing desires and goals. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the last module before we wrap up everything and have our parting thoughts session. Up until now, hopefully, you've gained a lot of clarity about what it is you're doing, why you want to do it, and what you want. Secondly, you've hopefully visioned what your whole end result is going to be and what that looks like for you, your daily routine, your nightly routine, and what you're doing in the weeks and months leading up to becoming a published author, and what that final result looks like in maintaining that. 3 things to cover about taking action. For one, get a sense of urgency. I can't express how important it is for you to be quick and be thorough about what you're doing. People always tell you all the time, oh, relax, you have a lot of time. And sadly, that is not always true. Because I have a disability, which I've mentioned throughout a lot of the modules that I've been talking about and sharing with you, I feel a sense of urgency, especially as I get older. Of course, that's related to, disability and my own beliefs and personal views that I have. But the other truth is that we're all aging. Aging is no respecter of persons. It's going to happen no matter what you do. There is no fountain of youth, and there are only creams and potions to keep your skin firm, sadly. That my point is that when you have a sense of urgency, you're very determined, you're very thorough, and I think you move more swiftly knowing that there's kind of something bearing down on you. It's when you're young and when you think you have a lot of time and all the time in the world that these things don't necessarily matter. You don't think about how long it's going to take you to do something. There are people that are 70 and 80 years old still wishing that they had pursued their book, and they probably at one time thought they had all the time in the world. And that's just not the case. You don't have all the time in the world. You have right now and what you can be doing each and every day to make progress and move ahead to your goal. The next thing I'm going to share seems like a contradiction to the first thing, and that is to be patient. And what I just mean is be patient with others that are helping you, be patient with your team that is working with you, be patient with the vendors and the freelancers that are supposed to make deliverables to you on different aspects of your book. Things don't always happen, and I really encourage you to have patience and think about when you're going to do things, especially around the holidays and around different times. Most people who have their own business and are freelancers because they don't want to be beholden to stringent deadlines and times. Yes, they get their work done, they are timely and efficient, but during the holiday, they may have had their own business just so they can have more time with their family, take a long hiatus. So I caution you to think about when you're going to be launching things, when you're going to be set all of your tasks and accomplishment and goals in motion, and to remember and make provision for those that people are working on things, and if it seems like they're not, willing to let those things go. Sometimes you'll have to sever relationships and because people are not getting things done as you think they should, and that's okay. A healthy dose of patience is what I'm talking about, not a lackadaisy type of patience where anything goes. You have deadlines, you discuss those deadlines with that person, both parties agree to adhere to the deadlines, and then you move forward to them expecting to receive the item or the products and the deliverables that people said they would make. That's different than just having a healthy dose of patience, wishing that you were already on perhaps the New York Times bestseller list, the USA Today's bestseller list, or that you had 50 books out over the course of 10, 15 years, and you did not see that happen, and that's okay. You still have time to work toward those goals and to set more realistic goals. Finally, be thorough. Don't let things fall by the wayside. If you set something in motion and you don't check back into it and it's fallen by the wayside, that's going to be on you. That's your fault. Somebody dropped the ball on something. They don't know that you were expecting them to do something. There was things in the email or things that you forgot to include. Make sure that you have looked at all the checklists and you've looked at all of the processes to do things and to get things done, and that you are carrying those out. If things fall off the table, say, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that I also expect this, this, and this. And make sure that it's done in a timely manner for people to be able to make accommodation for those things, and that it's not just sprung on someone. So sometimes when your book gets done and there are little things like the picture is off, you didn't order a proof, you didn't ask the person for the size that you needed, they didn't know the sizes that were needed to upload to Kindle and to other platforms, other ebook distributors. Those things are because you weren't thorough. And yes, we all expect our graphic designers and people that are in this business to know what they're doing. But sometimes if you take a chance on people that aren't professionals, that have really good design ideals and are good at what they do, what their final product is, but don't actually know industry standards for sizes and resolutions that things are supposed to be in, then that's a problem. Be thorough. At the end of the day, it's your product. That person moves on, and they really sometimes don't care about what happens after they do the work that they've done and they sent you the files and the products that you have paid them for. Sadly, there's little recourse to recoup your investment on what you have gotten from them. A bonus tip is to realize that systems, tools, and protocols and people change. People that were once interested in doing certain work sometimes lose interest and are no longer interested, and they may leave you midway And just make sure that people that you do hire have been doing something for a long time, that they seem committed, that they seem tested and tried over the course of the years to get everything done. The other thing is that the systems and tools, while right now there's lots of ways to get your book uploaded on different platforms, there's lots of different formatters. Sometimes someone in the book industry, especially a leader like Amazon, may change. And really, authors have little recourse or little ability to turn back the time and make the thing once what it was. So that is a problem. A lot of things in the business change. We have no control over them. We just have to kind of bend and flow and adapt to whatever they have decided the industry is going to be. A lot of these things you won't know they're coming, but that's important to read industry publications and stay in tune to the different listservs, Twitter accounts, and people that are really in the industry that are the leaders and the top bestsellers. They know what's coming down the pipeline. So read blogs, read Publishers Weekly, read other publications to see what's happening and stay abreast of that. So when things do happen, you're not surprised and sometimes defeated because you don't know what to do or you don't know what recourse you have to make change. I hope you've enjoyed all of these modules. I've enjoyed taping them and tried to make them interesting for you and try to give you a lot of insight and information that you might not get just reading the book, the Publishing Action Guide, and just listening to the modules, but some real live anecdotal advice here in this medium. Be sure to chat with me, and I look forward to another course that I'm working on to share with you. And be sure to give me feedback as well on what you think about this course and do the evaluation. Like I said, there'll be one last module, and that is the parting thoughts and wrapping up, where I'll be talking about all three of the modules and what to do and how to move forward from here. Never be afraid to refer back to anything that I've discussed. Play these over and over again because you might miss something in the first time you watched it. So watch it a second and a third time to make sure you got what I was saying, and hopefully the illustrations of my own life and my own journey have been helpful to you. Again, I've enjoyed our time. I'll see you in the last module, and take care.